Hello, everyone. So nice to be here today. This has been an outstanding lineup for the morning, and there's just a few conversations to have before we round out the day. You might be asking yourself, what is a Chief Product Sustainability Officer? Well, what that means is that I'm defining and executing Intel's roadmap across its entire portfolio to build more sustainable products, systems, solutions, and software. We are now entering the AI era, and we know that sustainability matters more than ever. And we're feeling it. You're feeling it here in Australia even, with the Black Summer fires, the Lismore floods, and the scorching heat waves. But businesses need to stay focused on how they're going to grow their revenue, mitigate risk, and lower costs. Driving business growth can be a challenge and a struggle when you can't find the talent to deploy these new innovations and these new technologies. But because AI is taking off so quickly, businesses can't wait. In fact, 89% of the global C-suite have rated AI as a top 3 priority for 2024. And 30% have already invested significantly in AI, with half of them exploring new use cases. But the challenge is 76% believe that deploying these more performant solutions is in conflict with delivering greener IT. And they're not wrong. AI increases the demands on digital infrastructure everywhere. A system and a server that used to be deployed previously would be 1 kilowatt of power needed. When you deploy an AI system, it's now 10 times that amount of power. So 10 kilowatts. Sometimes in a data center, that can be the full amount of power to a single rack. This is going to drive increased electricity usage across the planet, projected to grow at a 16% CAGR. And businesses are already facing challenges with year-over-year doubling of energy prices. These things are in conflict, and on top of that, governments are starting to implement environmental regulations, and specifically regulations on data centers. These regulations are looking at their water usage, their electricity usage, or even regulating the power usage effectiveness, or PUE. This is something that has come down over time, but the innovation has leveled off. PUE is a data center electricity efficiency metric. Best in class is 1.03. So there's still a long way to go to ensure that we're maximizing the energy use to drive just the systems themselves. Every company has an imperative to find greater efficiencies in their infrastructure today. And as they're building and operating new infrastructure, they need to deploy it in the most sustainable way. We'll show you a couple of examples of how to do that in today's talk. At Intel, we've been working very hard on these challenges for decades. In fact, just between 2010 and 2020, we estimate with our innovations and improvements that we've saved globally 1,000 terawatt hours of electricity. That's an incredible number. But we know that digital infrastructure is essential in the foundational fabric of our modern society. It's required for transportation, for banking, for healthcare, for education, entertainment, and more. So Intel, we have set out our mission is to drive sustainable computing so that together we can have a sustainable future. Our approach is 3-pronged. We are first continuing to work to lower our environmental footprint. The second is to build those sustainable products and solutions and services. And the third is to collaborate with our customers, our supply chain, and ecosystem partners so that we can build solutions that enable every vertical industry to lower their footprint, meet their sustainability goals, and enable their business growth at the same time. I'm proud of the work that we've done in these areas, and I look forward to sharing some of them with you. Now, you know Intel as a compute company, but at our core, we are a large-scale semiconductor manufacturing company. We have been environmental stewards for over 3 decades, publishing our first CDP report in 1994, one of the world's first corporate purchasers of a PPA to drive renewable electricity investments. We've set remarkable goals that you see up here, but more importantly, we've had significant achievements in electricity, water, waste, and carbon emissions, which have been lowered by 80% due to our actions and investments. In fact, our carbon emissions peaked in 2006, and you can just imagine the scale of computing has only grown, and we've grown our factory footprint significantly while continuing to lower our footprint. That was just built on our goal to make sure that we're being responsible citizens in each and every community within which we operate. I'll just speak of one goal, or one set of progress on this slide, which is the 99% renewable electricity. This is actually something that helps every one of our customers to have a lower Scope 3 upstream by having a lower product carbon footprint. So our products that are made on this factory with 99% renewable electricity are differentiated in the way that their carbon footprint is lower. We have now opened these factories to the world. We call it Intel Foundry, so that both new and incumbent chip makers can bring their technology and take advantage of this responsible, resilient, secure, and sustainable manufacturing facilities that we have around the globe. We know we can't do this alone, and so we really work hard to share our learnings with everyone around the globe. In fact, we're hosting our own sustainability summit in 2 weeks to share our knowledge with our partners, our supply chain, our customers, so that together we can drive sustainable computing for the future. Our purpose has always been to improve the lives of every person on the planet. We see AI is going to have a significant impact on the scale and the reach of what we can do with this technology. We believe in the power of AI to transform your business, and we believe new benefits will come from this, like accelerating innovation, maximizing value, and productivity. We enable AI responsibly, securely, and sustainably, from cloud to edge to client. But when many people think of AI, they think of those largest language models. But we think that enterprises are actually going to be orchestrating many smaller models as they get underway on this journey. Let's take a look at what that looks like. So these large language models are growing at an astounding rate, up to 2 trillion parameters. They're demanding outrageous power, the amount of a large city. But those models are going to continue to grow and improve because they're going to be driving the breakthroughs in medicine, robotics, automation, creation, discovery. But we actually see a bimodal distribution in these models out in time, where there'll be some of these largest models, but the enterprises are going to orchestrate smaller, nimbler, domain-specific models. You can see some of the benefits of these more finely tuned models, where they're more controllable, more secure, trusted. You can right-size the model just to meet your needs. On top of that, this moment is generating massive disruption in the industry. There are new infrastructure players coming up, delivering accelerators as a service. There are new service operators, like this Intel Articulate example that we're showing here, where somebody is building a smaller model, and then they're providing that service to you on your private enterprise data. This is a really great way to speed time to market, to not need to deploy in those more specialized skill sets if you're struggling to find them, and to keep your data on your premises or in your cloud. These solutions work anywhere, but it gives you that flexibility to not have lock-in into a particular customer. This is just one of many examples of models that will be as a service. We're seeing many of these healthcare-specific, legal-specific being built to help advance your progress and your growth. One of the most important things is continually optimizing the models. And there's one study that shows that by doing pruning of the data, 99% of the parameters could be removed without losing accuracy. That's a tremendous amount of difference in terms of the energy, the size of the model, even the cost as you're renting those accelerators as a service. So you can imagine a drug research company potentially has researched, tested many compounds. By deploying a service like this, they're enabling access for their researchers to interact through the tool and through the model and to discover the right solutions more quickly. That's just one of many use cases that will be unlocked. So we talked about this challenge with the electricity, where AI is projected to grow to 134 terawatt hours by 2027. The amount of energy consumed by Argentina or Sweden, it's just astounding. There's the challenge of the talent to build those models, but this opportunity for AI to drive business growth and to help meet your sustainability goals is limitless. And all AI, it's important to recognize it doesn't have to be generative AI. There are machine learning techniques that can be deployed even before you've started your generative AI journey to unlock new use cases, deploy them today, optimize your infrastructure, and improve business outcomes. We see there's these 3 ways to drive efficient and sustainable AI. That first one is optimizing the models. There's many different tools, techniques that you can do to optimize those models, optimizing the software, and optimizing the hardware, not just the silicon, so in some cases, choosing the right silicon, but at the system and even the data center level. One of the panelists will be talking today about liquid cooling and its incredible benefits that it can have for sustainability. I like to let everyone know that the opportunity is here to leave no transistor behind, right? It takes a lot of investment to get that silicon into your infrastructure, and now it's on, the teams that are running the workloads to optimize that software, optimize those models to utilize every capability within that and tightly couple it. I think back to when the Apollo went to the moon, and they were using assembly code on that guidance computer, and they did not waste a single resource. Our software models and developers are now at more abstracted layers, and so it's not as efficiently utilizing it. So that you have to find ways to improve the efficiency within your current models, and there's services, there's libraries and toolkits. Intel offers many of these to help maximize efficiency as well. But the technologies, of course, only come to life in real-world solutions. Ranging from logistics to smart cities to manufacturing. And I'll just talk through 3 examples to give you a flavor for what that might look like. The first one is around radiation therapy. So for patients undergoing radiation therapy, traditionally, it would take a therapist manually outlining where they were going to apply the radiation. This was time-consuming and sometimes incorrect. Siemens Healthineers developed an AI model to provide auto contouring of the areas that needed the radiation. And when they deploy newer solutions, they can speed up the time that it takes to get that contouring done by 35x and lower the energy consumption. But even better, for a medical facility, it is freeing up that critical medical professional's time to go deal with other activities or even see more patients and improve the productivity of that clinic. A second example, I think most companies today are running in the cloud. This example is Mobileye, who is an autonomous driving company who has their workloads in AWS. By utilizing cloud optimization software, like Intel's Granulate, they're able to continuously and real time optimize the workloads utilizing AI. Mobileye was able to use far fewer cloud resources than they were using originally. They reduced their carbon footprint by 30,000 kilograms per year. They reduced costs by 45%, and jobs were able to get done 45% faster. And that's just utilizing optimization tools on current infrastructure. You can get even more benefits when you use newer infrastructure, which is always faster and lower power as well. So this is the power of some of these new tools and techniques. The last example I will talk about is smart agriculture, which has the potential to feed our growing population. The effects of climate change are affecting farming. Nature Fresh Farms built 32 models on their 25 years of data. they then added to those models real-time data like moisture, light, and humidity. By utilizing those models, they now use AI to control the lighting, the ventilation, the power management of their various systems, and the tremendous results that Nature Fresh Farms is now able to realize a 3x plant yield by deploying AI and smart agriculture techniques. Additionally, they use computer vision with AI to detect produce that is of similar age or firmness. When they put these together and package them, they're able to reduce waste and spoilage and improve the customer experience. These are just a handful of the use cases of how deploying AI can help to improve the top line, the bottom line, and improve the customer experience. In summary, this long-standing commitment that we've had to sustainability provides benefits to our customers by having a lower embodied carbon footprint. And we're taking this holistic approach around software and hardware innovations and open source solutions so that we can help everyone to lower the footprint of their digital infrastructure. And finally, in this new AI era, we see this opportunity to harness the power of AI to improve sustainability and to make AI more sustainable. When we deploy these solutions at scale, together, we can make a difference. Thank you. I am now going to introduce the panel. And I would like to welcome, here we go, Veena Sahawala to join me from UNSW. She is a professor there working in materials science, so welcome, Veena. We also have Matt Pearson, the CEO of Airspeeder, and Bas Salah, co-founder and managing director of Reset Data. Thank you and welcome. Glad you can join me here today for this conversation. All right, we're going to get started, and I'll start with you, Veena. Can you tell us a little bit about the technology solution that you have and a little bit about your journey to get here?
Thanks very much, Jen, for having me. The work that we do can be summed up in one word. It's about microfactories. So when we think about microfactories, it's very much about taking all kinds of waste, whether it's our clothing waste, so that's our textiles, our glass, electronic waste, and converting those into materials and products. So, you sort of broadly start to ask the kinds of questions that you've been beautifully explaining in your talk a moment ago. What does it actually mean to be sustainable? And how do you actually achieve those outcomes in a holistic way? So it's about ultimately producing those kinds of materials and products that we need in our everyday lives. The difference is, can we do that in a microfactory setting, do it in a way that we are decentralized, we're allowing all kinds of SMEs, everyone to be part of that supply chain. So you can actually take all kinds of waste resources, put that into various modular systems so that ultimately you can manufacture all kinds of products. So I've got a few examples if I could do that.
Let everyone experience what you've built.
Yeah, so I mean, some of these products that I'm showing you here, these are our green ceramic tiles. Mm-hmm. And we've made them, and the reason why you see them of different colors, we've actually made them from waste textiles and waste glass. And of course, the ability to demonstrate how micro-recycling science works, these are great examples where you can actually see a hybrid product. You've got a combination of waste textiles and glass, but you've now suddenly got very dissimilar materials that are effectively working well together for a whole host of science and engineering reasons. They perform beautifully when it comes to all kinds of expectations of performance. So that's the key thing with microfactories. It's not about thinking about recycling, but actually taking it into the realm well and truly beyond the traditional way we think about recycling. And this is actually going beyond the 3 R's of reduce, reuse, recycle, and saying, what if you could have a 4th R of reform? where you've actually converted your waste resources into these kinds of products. So indeed, our microfactories are now commercially operating in a regional town not too far from Sydney, in Nowra. And we're making these tiles so they can actually be deployed in our built environment. But yeah, broadly, we're looking at all kinds of other materials, like materials that will allow us to produce silicon and copper and tin and all of those important resources that we, of course, need. So, thinking about the future is something that we get really excited about at the Smart Center at UNSW, because there are so many possibilities. And that collaboration partnership with our SME partners, manufacturing is the key goal, so that you're actually making products out of these resources. And so realistically, nothing should be classified as a waste. We should be able to divert all of this away from landfill into our economy.
I think it's exponential thinking to take recycle and waste into new products and reform. So really, and you're also bringing jobs to these new places where you're deploying these decentralized microfactories.
Yes.
And having the waste from that place come to the factory. It's really creative systems thinking about how do we solve this kind of at-scale problem. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Matt, next up for you, can you tell us a little bit about Airspeeder, a little bit about your technology?
Sure.
Journey?
My journey's started an internet business, then thought, hey, I think I can build a space business, so found a co-founder and started launching things into space. Thought, how hard could that be? Turns out really hard, a lot harder than I thought. And then when that was kind of going pretty well, I thought, hey, why don't I have a flying car? So I thought, well, let's build a startup to bring everyone a flying car that they can own and they can fly themselves. People have been talking about it since Henry Ford, and it still hasn't happened, so we're going to do something about it. The problem is really a data problem. You need to gather huge amounts of operational data for the flight computer to train collision avoidance systems and the infrastructure layer, everything that we're going to do if we're going to have high-density air traffic in our cities. And so I started thinking, well, what's a good business model that gathers lots of data very fast for a vehicle that's not roadworthy? And I thought, well, Formula One. Formula One car generates about 1.5 petabytes of data a year. 20 cars, that's 30 petabytes. That's a decent whack of data. So that's enough to train something pretty special. So I thought, okay, well, we'll start the Formula One of flying cars. That sounds easy. And maybe it's better if, I think we've got a video, it's probably better to show you this on a big screen rather than me rabbiting on about it. So if we can play the video, that'd be great.
Flying cars are an essential part of the future we've been promised for so long. This is real, the future's here now. We are ready, we've got enough, let's go. Sometimes you just have to fly. Greater power to weight ratio than an F1 car or a fighter jet. Speeds of up to 200 kilometers per hour through the air. We're here unveiling the future of motorsport and showing people that the future's here now.
Here we go then. Unbelievably close. What a move.
My style of flying is pretty aggressive. We're just sending it. Look out.
I want to win. I have more experience than them two combined.
Flying and going fast. It's my blood, I guess.
The key to the future of this sport is the experience we're going to provide for the fans.
We are actively contributing to the foundation of a safe and sustainable future in aviation.
I think this is going to be the most watchable sport in the world.
The impact of what we're doing is so much more than a sport. Airspeeder races are actually a microcosm of the cities of the future.
Nothing like this has ever been done before.
This is the future.
Welcome to the world of Airspeeder.
So we're having a lot of fun and generating a lot of data, and then we're going to process that together. So yeah, really exciting. But that's how the future's built. That's how the motor car came into our lives through racing, and we're going to do it again this time.
That's right. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
All right. Boss, you want to tell us a little bit about your technology solution?
Absolutely, but following on from that's going to be a really hard one. So what we do is we take, our product is called liquid immersion cooling, and we take computer servers and immerse them in a non-conductive dielectric liquid. So we're actually taking computer servers and literally immersing them in liquid to cool them. And our journey has really been about enabling the enterprise or the end user to consume the product. And so our journey has been 4 years of developing an ecosystem with partners like Dell and Submer, and working with Intel as well as BP Castrol, and a complete ecosystem of, fiber optic suppliers, network switch suppliers, to bring about a product that essentially can be used. And just hearing you talk about artificial intelligence and machine learning, it's a complete change of an ecosystem. And so we've been in the middle of that for the last 4 years, and we're proud to say we've actually now got a product which customers can test and they can simulate their workloads, and they can do that at 151 Clarence Street, which is our testing and simulation facility, which is the first facility in Australia, probably one of the first in APAC, which allows customers to test AI inferencing in an enterprise environment. Yeah, nice. So that's our technology and product journey.
That's incredible. It equally matches the flying car. It's just different because you're sticking electronics in liquid. If you guys have been to the showcase, it's mind blowing to do. Somebody said it's like seeing the toaster in the bathtub. You're not expecting this. So if you haven't gone to check it out, I encourage you. So 3 really innovative leaders here on the panel. So let's go through, and if you can talk a little bit about the impact of your product in terms of reducing carbon emissions or promoting sustainability.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I mean, the key word there has to be impact. And impact at so many different levels. That holistic kind of planetary level, we've got to recognize that, materials, resources are limited on this planet. It's taken a lot of energy, it's taken a lot of resources to manufacture all kinds of things. And we know, whether we're talking about different kinds of metals or building products, and indeed our textile and glass and everything else, we know that the planet has already put in so much energy into making these materials. So why would we actually just kind of classify them as waste just because they come to the end of that one life, your product? The kinds of things we talk about with our micro factories in terms of these green ceramic tiles are simply saying that the science at the micro level allows you to bring these products over and over again, back again into our micro factories. So when we think about impact, the point you made earlier about jobs, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact that we've set up these micro factories in Nowra, in a regional town, close enough to Sydney, so the markets are there, but again, being able to bring a whole range of players into that supply chain. And so sustainability at that level where we can go, actually, we don't need to bring all of these heavy-duty building products over long distances if we can take locally available resources. So in this particular case with our green ceramics, that's exactly what we're doing. And then, of course, if you can apply that to so many other kinds of products, like the work we're doing now in recycling e-waste, and you stop and think again, for safety reasons, why would you want to move your batteries around over long distances? We know that's not necessarily the best outcome when it comes to safety. But what if you could actually take our micro-recycling science, and indeed one of our micro-factories that we're planning at the moment is about saying, how would you take all of that complex material that's present inside our batteries, and if we could start to create those metallic materials out of that. So, the classic case of, can we produce nickel, for instance? Can we produce zinc and manganese? And then, of course, you then extend that out into solar PV and go, okay, well, what about silicon? Can we actually do that? The question, of course, remains, a lot of these products, either they're too heavy or not too safe to transport. So broadly, when we think about sustainability, we are looking at it as you correctly pointed out, Jen, that it is the whole of systems approach. And if we can look at it in that way, then effectively through that sustainability lens, we're actually showing the ultimate care for our planet and for our people. And this is why to us, it's an exciting future because it allows us to bring in all of those materials back into production. And so, of course, when people go, well, what's that next device going to look like? We can't do it because we're limited by supply chains. Well, that's no longer going to be a reason to not do something, because you can easily go back and literally mine all of those materials that you had classified as waste. So to me, it's an exciting way to completely shift that mindset by bringing in microfactories into the equation.
Yeah, I love it. And we had talked yesterday. What you may not know, in the EU, they now have regulations looking for increasing amounts of recycled content in your products. And so you're basically at the forefront of standing up this supply chain that will be needed for some of these materials that are being harvested. We have the opportunity to look at lowering the footprint in those reference platforms that we build. So, as you think about products that your companies build, how are you incorporating recyclability, evaluating supply chain at the beginning of that process?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Veena.
Thank you.
How about you, Matt?
Well, I think it would help our sustainability journey a lot if we had a microfactory, recycling the batteries and composites and things that we're going through at the moment. So our view on sustainability is obviously a little bit more longer term. The vehicles are electric, which is great. We're working on sustainable aviation fuels to extend our range. But a big part of what we're doing is looking at what happens to our transport systems when you all own a flying car. Because if you get an autonomous car, our roads are going to be choked. They're pretty choked already in most major cities in the world. It's faster to walk than to drive. That's only going to get worse, right? So that's why Elon's building tunnels. It's we can have our cars on the road a lot more. And so livability just goes down. And I don't know about you, but I don't really want to be stuck in a tunnel underground for 3 hours on my phone. I'm not driving. I'm still stuck in traffic. That's not the future that I'm excited about. So livability in our cities, if we could take out the footprint of the car, which now takes up more than 50% of most major modern cities, if you can take that footprint out and put green spaces back in, make cities walkable, which is what most major cities are at war with the car, trying to get them out of their city centers. That's a future I'm really excited about, where we have communities again on the ground, we have green cities on the ground. Very quickly we can repurpose roads. I think it's going to look insane when you look back and go, you mean in the old days we had a single plane with all traffic on the same level, buses, cars, trams, cyclists, pedestrians, toddlers, pets, everything together on one level right next to each other? Of course a lot of people died. That's insane. So if we can take cars back out of the city, I think that's going to it's going to make our lives better, and I think it can go a long way to making cities greener. So it's a long-term view. Right now, electric vehicles, but we're producing lots of lithium batteries, lots of carbon fiber prototypes and things like that. So I need a microfactory, I reckon, set up next to us.
Bring it over to our place.
Excellent, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Matt. How about you, Bas?
Yeah, so our technology, liquid immersion cooling, actually affords us 10 times the compute density in the same amount of space. So we can build data centers at up to about a tenth of the space. And what that means is the embodied energy in the infrastructure or the build actually gets reduced significantly. More importantly, we use overall about 50% less power, so our CO2 emissions reduce dramatically, up to by about 50%. One of the stats that's not talked about a lot is wastewater. And in Australia, we consume something like 50 billion litres of water a year to cool data centres. Immersion cooling, if it's designed efficiently and optimally, uses zero wastewater. And so that stat is just huge in an arid country like Australia. The last thing for us is there's a great opportunity with heat recycling, and one of the byproducts of compute servers is they produce heat, and so we can capture that heat and reuse it to heat building facility plant, like hot water units and showers and things like that. So we've got a significant environmental impact, and with artificial intelligence, there's a great opportunity to make a significant and profound impact.
Yeah, the ability to have energy reuse, that's really groundbreaking.
Yep.
It's not something we think about when we're building these giant data centers today. And everything that you can do with that, from district heating,
That's right.
Urban farming, putting farms with a greenhouse wherever there's a data center, really opens up new opportunities. How about the challenges and the opportunities? Let's talk a little bit about that. Veena?
Yeah, look, challenges, when we first started, I think it was always about, but we're doing recycling. We've got our yellow bins. We're collecting materials. And so, of course, the first thing that people would tell us about is, okay, we're collecting and that's a job done. And if you were to then go, well, okay, if you've collected it, what do you do next with it? So, a lot of those challenges as we opened up all these realms of possibilities. And I remember, in the early days at UNSW, when we were right here in Sydney, when we set up our pilot facilities, I guess, the challenge always was, well, okay, you're making products from, waste textiles and glass, and but it's not going to meet the building standards. It's not going to be up to standards. So it's a lovely lab experiment, but you know what? Really, is it going to actually meet all those engineering properties that you need? So I think the first step is that people kind of assume that, but it's got to be lower standards, it's got to be poorer quality, and all the usual sort of things that we obviously were told in the early days. I guess fast forward all of these years later, we've clearly got these products in various applications, in residentials and commercial places. So I think to me, yes, absolutely, it's not easy, because fundamentally what we had to go back to basically even redefining what that science was going to look like. So part of the work was to be able to go, if we're talking about science literally at that micro level, this is not something people think about in the regular sense of recycling. You assume in a recycling sense, it's kind of like for like, that every product comes out exactly the same. What we had to do literally is coin the word micro-recycling, because we wanted to be able to talk about that. How is it that we're able to achieve these kinds of properties?
Right.
And then, of course, now when we start to think about all the opportunities for the future, that whole idea that every bit of metal, it doesn't matter whether your device has become obsolete or not, if you can actually care for the fact that supply chains are what's coming in terms of obsolete devices, products that don't work, or things that have just simply failed. We were going through one small town in regional New South Wales here, and the mayor was telling me, hey, you know what? We've hit 1 million solar panels in that small town. And yes, it's obviously a commercial farm, and they're generating, so it's a solar farm. But from his point of view, he's already fast forward thinking a few years down the road, going, you know what, it was great, lots of jobs created when this installation was going on. But could we imagine a microfactory that then says, at the end of life of these solar panels, and even some that do get damaged in transport or whatever, could we actually go back and harness all of that silicon?
Is there a place for it to go? Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's
so
great.
I think that's exciting. It's exciting that, it doesn't matter whether you're in a remote regional town or in a major metro city. I think the fact that people are starting to have that conversation about, hey, this is a great opportunity. How can we collaborate? How can we work together? So I think the opportunity in collaboration is massive.
Quite large. Thank you. Matt, how about you?
No challenges, it's all fine. It's great.
You can teach me how to fly one instantly, no problems?
No, like a million things, right? It's not easy. But it's, I think the biggest challenge is obviously just changing hearts and minds. They're about, when I tell people what we do, like 50% will go, that's absolutely crazy. I love it. I love pod racing. I want to be in Star Wars. I want this for myself. And the other half are like, that's totally crazy. Tell me more. So it's It's already capturing, I think, this kind of love, but we need people to fall in love with flying cars the same way they did with the automobile. I mean, our entire civilization is now based around the car. Cities transformed shape around the car, and it's driven by love. So that's why we want to build the most exciting vehicles on the planet possible. And yes, like to teach them like to be something that it's going to be safe for me to fly. Racing pilots are not safe for different reasons, but for me, we need something that's been really, really well trained on all these edge cases that we're going to create, right? So that's why I like racing data, because it's all messy stuff. It's all people doing things right at the edge, probably doing things they shouldn't actually be doing at that speed, at that particular apex, right next to someone else. And all of that is great training data to make it safe for the rest of us. Racing on the road gave us like the basics: seat belts, disc brakes, rear vision mirrors, like things that we take for granted as safety systems in our cars today, came out of racing. So it's going to be the same. It's much more sophisticated now, but it's those data-driven models that are going to keep us safe in the sky and get lots more air traffic into our skies, which is coming anyway. Like drone delivery is coming. More air traffic is coming. Electric aviation is coming. There are cities around the world that have already got air taxis heading to the airport, electric air taxis. So it's definitely coming. It's just like, how do we use this as a point to improve our cities and get that vision across to people? Like, this is a big opportunity. The face of our cities is going to change. How do we fall in love with that process and redesign them the right way?
Love it.
So, no challenges.
All right, and Bas?
Similar to what Matt was saying, when you're trying to bring about an emerging technology, the hardest thing is changing hearts and minds, but it's also changing, essentially you're in supply push rather than demand pull. And so you've got existing incumbent technology, which is actually playing defensively. And so the opportunities come about, right? And our opportunity has been, the challenge has been the existing incumbents, but the opportunity has actually been artificial intelligence and machine learning. Running hotter, as you said, systems are changing, but we're actually seeing a complete change of an architectural innovation, a disruption of the market. We're seeing a change at the software layer, hardware layer, infrastructure layer, data center layer, network layer, and that is actually affording us a big opportunity to make a profound impact. So it is getting people's hearts and minds changed, but it's also finding that opportunity to drive the change from a supply push to a demand pull. And so that's what we're really excited about.
Nice. All right. In our remaining time, maybe one sentence on what excites you about the future from anything you've heard today. So we'll go through.
I think what excites me is that we're really inspiring, our communities, so many people across communities at the grassroots level, small businesses, people who would have never even thought about these things are coming on the journey with us. So I think to me, the transformative power that we're seeing with our micro factories is something that's pretty cool.
I think it's pretty cool too. Matt, how about you?
There's a lot in what we're doing that excites me about it. I am hell-bent on creating this amazing future that comes straight out of science fiction. I think, this is ridiculous, but the thing that's actually exciting me at the moment is something called the Great Horse Manure Crisis of 1894, where the whole world was like the headlines read like they were written yesterday. Like, the world's dying because of pollution, there's disease everywhere, our cities are overcrowded, there's no way out, there's all this pollution, and our transport systems are all clogged up. The Times in London was like, in 50 years, the whole of London will be buried 9 foot under horse manure. And no one had a solution. No one knew what was going to come. And then suddenly the car was invented, and it all went away, like overnight. In 13 years, America went from 20 million horses to 20 million cars. No one saw it coming. So that's what really excites me about innovation in the future. We are probably closer to a complete change than we think, and it can happen overnight.
Yeah, I'm on the same principle. There's a complete change coming, which is AI, and for us being on the cusp of that change with the technology that's actually going to aid that change. But with the technology that's actually going to have a profound impact from a sustainability point of view is where we're really kind of enjoying life at the moment, but it's actually about the partnerships and the ecosystem building that we've been doing, and that's been the fun and joyous piece for us. So yeah, it's being about being part of an ecosystem, driving change, and a significant and profound one.
Well, I'm looking forward to this ecosystem of flying cars, but with recycled batteries and a microfactory, and all the data and analytics is in a liquid-cooled edge solution running AI. So thank you all very much for your time, and let's give our panel a hand. Thank you so much. Great conversation.